Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys an old school album review. And today we're going to be looking into this album's 40th anniversary, and it's from a band, well, one of the best bands in rock and heavy metal. And this album, in my opinion, is pretty much a very underlooked album. And as you can see by the title, we're going to be talking about Fair Warning by Van Halen. This was the band's fourth album, released on April 29th, 1981, which is hard to believe this is now 40 years old, released under Warner Brothers Records. Now, this album is a little bit different after like the self-titled album, Van Halen 2 and Women and Children First. This album, I feel like, is a lot more darker, and it also is a very different, and it's one of their greatest albums, but this is a ridiculously underrated album, especially in the original classic David Lee Roth era of Van Halen. And this album, from what I heard, there was like a lot of like inner problems within the band, mostly between David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen at the time, because David wanted it to like go with more of a mainstream approach, while Eddie just wanted to make it focused on more like rock elements. And then there was like pressure from their label at the time to release a record every year, and they would up until after Diver Down. And this album is a lot bit of a darker. And this album is also fairly short. It is only like about half an hour worth of content spread across 9 tracks. But still overall, I feel like the band delivers a great performance. Like David Lee Roth does a great job of vocals, and Eddie Van Halen, may he rest in peace, was a great guitarist. Like, he's one of the most incredible and most influential guitarists of all time. Like, there's no question about it. The bass-wise, Michael Anthony, I think, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated bass players, not just in rock and metal, but just in music in general. He has some really great bass lines on here. And drumming-wise, like Eddie's bro, Alex Van Halen, is another great drummer. Also very underrated, in my opinion. So, yeah, let's just dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is Mean Street. And this has to be one of the best opener from, like, the classic like Roth era albums. It just starts off with a great tapping solo from Eddie, and after the solo is a nice riff is played, and then the drums and bass enter, and then David just sings "All Night I Walk Past This Stinking Street, Past the Crazies on My Block," and he sings really well on this track. And you know, this should honestly be on like one of their best of albums. Anyway, moving on to Dirty Movies. Now, this song has a really great intro with some really catchy drum beat from Alex, and the bass is really audible in this song. And you can hear sort of like how the drums and bass go well together. And Eddie's performance on the song is pretty average, and the solo is not one of his greatest moments, but Roth's vocals are really great, and he does some like funny yells on phrases like "lights, camera, action, take it off," and "oh, wow." Wow, and just Van Halen can make a song very interesting, and some people may call it filler, but I say it's a pretty average song. Anyway, when we get to Sinner's Swing. Now, this is a really great rock and roll riff from Eddie on this song, and Alex has some really great fills, and this pretty much makes the song even better. And David singing is great in the song, but I really love sort of like the harmonies in the song. It's very memorable. Well, mostly I heard it's like Eddie and Michael like doing the backups, and then there's a great solo from Eddie like midway through the song. It's just rank up from one of the best solos on this album, and in my opinion, a very underrated song. Anyway, next up is Hear About It Later, which is my favorite song from this album, and the intro, it's just itself is really calming and so beautiful, and the rest of the band joins in after the solo, and Roth starts to sing, and I just love the way he sings on this song. The way he sings really just fits like the whole mood of the song, and some amazing guitar playing at the end of the verses, and the solo is just amazing. I mean, the only little annoying thing about the solo though is like Roth is playing a cowbell, and it gets annoying sometimes. It's just a little minor nitpick, if you ask me. Anyway, moving on to Unchained. Now, this is arguably pretty much the well-known song, or most well-known song from this album, and I still hear it played sometimes. And Eddie starts off the song with a heavy and recognizable riff, and there's some really great harmonies in this song, and Eddie has like a brief solo that leads you in, and then Roth's just random singing, and then Roth feels like has like a little bit of a conversation as the riff changes, as he says, "Woohoo, take a look at this. Hey man, that suit is you. You get some leg tonight for sure. Tell us how you do." And And then there's like a random guy that responds, "Come on, Dave, give me a break." And then it just ends this random section by singing another great break coming up. And this song just ends with the chorus being repeated several times. And the only little nitpick about I have this song, which I feel like it kind of repeats a little bit too much, but overall, another great song, another one of my favorite Van Halen songs. Anyway, moving on to the next song on the album, which is called Push Comes to Shove. Now, this song really just shows how this Van Halen album is different from like other albums, and this pretty much has like Michael Anthony get some spotlight in this song, and he has a really kind of like funky kind of like bass riff, and this song kind of reminds me of the song Little Dreamer from their first album, and both songs are serious and there is no joking in the songs, and Dave's best vocal performance in my opinion is on this song, and he sings with a lot of like emotion and seriousness in this track, and Eddie also has like a great solo midway through, and it fits like the whole mood and just the whole vibe of the song. And this song is also very underrated and is one of the better songs from this album. So This Is Love is up next, and this song is kind of like Push Comes to Shove, with Michael having some really great spotlight in the intro, and David has another great performance in the song, and just the harmonies here are really great. And the greatest part of the song has to be, of course, Eddie Van Halen's guitar soloing, and there's like 2 solos in this song, and this really just shows how much he's great on this guitar, and it's just a fun song to listen to. Next up is Sunday Afternoon in a Park, which is a little bit of an instrumental and a filler, but I don't know, it's just a weird song. It's just a really filler song. But then we move on to the last song on the album, which is called One Foot Out the Door, which is a short conclusion for this album, and the intro or the outro to this song isn't the worst. It just seems like filler to me, and the song seems a little bit forced, and there's like a little bit of annoying synths in the background, which will later foreshadow them starting to use synths in their album 1984. But this song, honestly, Eddie really just saves the day with a really great solo at the end, which pretty much finishes off the album. And I think it's a great way to wrap everything up. Now, overall, Fair Warning by Van Halen is a pretty good album in their discography. Very underrated, if you ask me. So if I had to give this album a score, I'm going to give Fair Warning by Van Halen a solid 8.5 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of Van Halen's Fair Warning, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the album, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.